And with that, once again, we welcome in the voice of Toledo hockey, Matt Melzak. Matt, it is time. It is on. Let's get going. It is the playoffs. I can tell you are exuberant.
I am ready to go. I've got a couple of days left to get to that same energy level that you have to bring each and every night. I get to hold on until Friday for that first game. But, yeah, looking forward to it. You know what? This is it is one of those things where, you know, we've been so successful with the Walleye.
Yeah.
And it's hard to think, just even as fans. You know, you're like, oh, man, when do we get to the real playoffs?
When does it matter?
When does it matter? When are we getting to that point? And it's almost like you hate to think the regular season a foregone conclusion, but in some ways, yes, and some ways, no. Yeah. So, you know, now it's time. Let's get it on. Let's get it going.
Okay. Now, before we get too far looking forward into this week, you know I got to take it back just a little bit. Last home game, and I know what you're going to tell me. I know what you're going to tell me, but I got to ask. It's Fort Wayne. It's at home, and it's a loss. Is that going to sit with them going forward?
No.
Okay.
Done with.
All right. I told you I'd ask him, and I knew what he'd say.
Done with.
All right. I'll ask you about it when they play Fort Wayne in the next
You know
round.
what? If we play Fort Wayne, we'll break it all down. We'll talk all about it if you want. We can spend an entire 30-minute show for you talking about it, if you really want.
Okay. All right. So you heard him. We'll check him back later. All right. So now moving ahead to Indy this week, Friday, first home game, first playoff game. Anything to fear from the Fuel?
Well, I think there's always something to fear when you get into the postseason because there's so many things you can't so much control. You can go out and play your best. And I've seen it many a time over the years where all of a sudden you run into a goaltender who doesn't let in anything. And you look at Etienne Marcoux for the Indy Fuel and what he did in the second half of the game against Kalamazoo on Sunday when they needed to get in. He was dynamite, especially in the third period, and they can get that from him. And in the games against Toledo this year that he's played well. And Toledo's gotten to him, but he definitely has the talent to slow up a team. And I saw it years and years ago, going all the way back to a Storm series against Reading, where Toledo was by far the better team on the ice. The shots were 2-1. The chances were at least 2-1, maybe 3-1. And there was this guy by the name of Barry Brust who ended up making it to the National Hockey League who was unbeatable in that series. And Toledo won one game, and that's because Scott Fankhauser only allowed one goal in the game.
Good name.
And it was 2-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that you run into that, you never know. But with the Fuel, the one thing that I like for Toledo's chances here is the fact that they've gotten a lot of opportunities, goal-scoring chances against the Indy Fuel. And if that continues in the postseason, that is a recipe for success. And of course, Toledo's so good defensively. Pat Nagel in between the pipes. I think you're solid there. It's going to be that, I think that if Indy can clamp down defensively, then that would certainly help them. But if the regular season means anything into the postseason, they give up a lot of scoring opportunities. That will favor Toledo.